Hey, what's going on everyone? It is Kyle and we are back with episode 5 in the C++ programming tutorials from my programming and web development tutorials. In today's episode we're going to be combining the last few episodes and the knowledge that we have gained from those episodes to create an application that is a little bit bigger, and we are going to also learn at the same time about if statements. So let's jump right in and get started. So I'm just going to explain what an if statement is, because just like everything that we learn new, you're going to be asking what the hell is an if statement. So in programming you need to be able to provide logic within your application, and by that I mean basically defining parameters and making your program work around that. So say if you have a program that accepts user input and you have multiple things that the user can enter, you need to be able to say, okay, so if the user enters name, then print out name. But if the user enters age, then print out age. If the user enters exit, then we need to close the application. So it provides logic in our application to be able to handle different user requests, and it doesn't just work with user input, it works with everything. You can an alright example, I guess, is in C++, because you can actually find out and check which operating system the user is running. You can say, if user is running Windows, then execute this code. If user is running Linux, then execute this code. And it all sort of ties in and provides logic for your application, so it's a little bit smarter and more intuitive than just, a basic application that just prints stuff on the screen. So let's get started. The things that we're going to need to include in this application are our standard IO stream, which is pretty much the basis of all C++ applications that print and accept user input. And just like in last episode, we're going to need to import or include our string header. Create our main. Oh, we don't need I as an argument. We need to create our main function. We're going to return 0, as we always do. Okay, so this application that we're going to make, I'm just going to give an example of an if statement, and then we're going to make something a little bit bigger. Okay, so what can we do? Let's do string user input. Okay, and then we're going to see out onto the screen, please enter hello. Okay, we'll put a space, and then we'll standard std cin into user input. Okay, so to create an if statement we need to type if, and then we need to have an opening bracket, and this is where you store basically the logic or the argument. So if something does something, or if something equals something, or if something is less than or doesn't equal something. Okay, so in this instance we're going to say if user input equals hello. Okay, and then you need to put in your two curly braces, your open curly brace and your closed curly brace. So you might be asking at this point, why do I have two equal signs? Did you just make a typo, or is that actually how it is? And yeah, that is exactly how it is. When you are comparing values, you need to have two equal signs as opposed to one. When you just say if you're assigning a value to an integer, you just use one because you're not actually comparing anything. But if you're comparing two strings, or you're comparing whether number 1 is equal to number 2, then you need to put in two equal signs. And that's basically the easy way to explain that. Okay, so if user input equals hello, so basically if the user enters hello onto the screen after we've asked them to enter hello, then we're going to std cout yay, you can follow instructions, end line. Okay, and then we need to have an argument for when the user doesn't enter hello, and to do that we need to put in else. So if the user enters hello, then print yay, you can follow instructions. Else, if the user doesn't enter hello, then we need to put in our two curly braces again, our open and our close, and we need to print out on the screen cout you are bad listening, and end line, and semicolon on the end. So let's see if this works, because this is just straight off the top of my head, and we've already forgotten something. Remember, string is part of the standard library. I keep forgetting that too. Okay, so first of all, we're going to enter hello and hope that it works. Okay, yay, you can follow instructions. So that is, if user enters hello, which we did, then we need to print out on the screen, yeah, you can follow instructions. Okay, so we'll quickly run it again, and let's enter something that is not hello. Not hello. You are bad at listening. Okay, so you can see here how we have handled user input and then defined the result, or what we actually print out on the screen, depending on what the user actually enters. Now, in this case, this is actually case sensitive, I believe. So if I was to enter hello, you are bad at listening, it's still hello, but it's case sensitive. So if you wanted to add some extra arguments in there to say if they enter it in lowercase or with an uppercase H, then you would do something like this. So if user input equals hello, okay, or, okay, so to say or, you need to put in, I don't know what kind of character they call these, but if you hold shift and do the backslash and press that twice, that's or. Okay, so if user input equals hello, or user input equals hello, then yeah, you can follow instructions, else you are bad at listening. So let's try that again, and we will enter, oh, helps if I spell it right, hello. Yay, you can follow instructions. And it's really as simple as that. So that is some really basic logic on how to handle user input. Now, obviously, all of the things that we've learnt so far don't have any kind of error checking in them at all. So if I was to enter, I don't know, some random stuff, it would probably break the program. But because we've got some form of error handling here, I think if I entered 54, then it just terminates and says, you're bad at listening. And yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. Okay, so now we're going to jump into making our slightly larger application, which is going to apply the knowledge that we've just learnt here with our if statements, and also the ones that we've learnt with our integers and our strings. Okay, so yeah, let's basically delete all of this, and we'll start again. So basically, the application that we are going to make is going to ask for your first name, your last name, your pet's name, just like in the previous episode, and it's also going to ask for your age and your year of birth and your lucky number. Okay, and then we're going to formulate it into a pretty little string, and yeah, and we're going to go from there, and yeah, we'll work it out. And then how are we going to integrate our if statements? Because that's just going to ask for user input. Okay, let's just make this up as we go. So we're going to have our integer. Let's start off with our strings first. Std string first name, std string last name. I think I've already worked out how we're going to integrate some if statements into there. And std string pet name. So it's going to be kind of just like a collaboration of everything that we've put in there. So what we're going to actually do is ask the user if they would like to enter their user information or whether they would like to add up two numbers, and then we can go from there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare all of our variables in one spot. Now, a trick that you can actually use to minimize the amount of lines that you use, because I'm declaring the same type of variable over and over and over again, to save on lines, what you can actually do is you can actually put in some commas. So if I put in a comma, last name, and comma, pet name, then I've just declared three strings on one line, because they don't equal anything, so I can just straight off the bat declare three strings. And we can do the same with our integers. So int number 1 and number 2. Okay, so we've declared our strings and we've declared our integers. So now what we're going to do is we're going to ask the user which they would like to do. So std cout, would you like to enter your name or add two numbers? And then we're going to end line, and then we're going to say enter add enter name to enter your name, or enter number to add numbers. Seems kind of confusing. We'll take a look at that and we'll evaluate what it actually looks like. Okay, would you like to enter your name or two numbers? Enter. Okay. We need to put a couple of little things over here just to kind of make it a little bit more intuitive, and we'll actually put in two new lines, so then it's kind of spaced out a bit more. Okay, would you like to enter your name or add two numbers? Enter name to enter your name or enter number to add numbers. Cool, right, we got that down. Okay, so on the next line we are going to put in our logic. So we're also going to need to declare a string here for our user input, which I forgot. So now we got that down. Std cin user input. Now all of the stuff that I do in my tutorials is real time. Like, I don't have anything prepared at all, so if I make mistakes, then yeah, then we're all learning. Okay, so std cin user input. Okay, so this is where we have out your statement. If user input equals name, then we are going to put in we're going to put in the logic for if the user enters in name. So we are going to std cout enter your first name and space std cin std cin first name, I'm getting there, std cout enter your last name, enter your last name, std cin last name, std cout enter your pet's name, and then std cin what is it? Pet name, that's what we call that variable, pet name. Okay, and then we're going to std cout and then we're going to just do something like first name space last name has a pet named space pet name. Yeah, cool. And then that's what we're going to do if the user enters name. Okay, so now what we've got to do is we've got to find out whether if the user enters numbers, I think it is. Is that what we said? Number. Okay, so to do that, because we don't want to add an else statement, because that is actually assuming that you enter anything but name. So what we need to do is we need to add in what's called an else if statement. So kind of explain how that works. So if user input equals name, then do that. Else, if user input equals number, then do something else. And then you put else after both of those. So else, if it doesn't equal either of those, then we just need to output an error and say, you're silly because you didn't enter name or number. Okay, so now we're going to go else if. So it's exactly the same as an if statement, except it's else if. So else if user input equals number. No, turn insert off. Else if user input equals number, then we need to say std c out, enter the first number, std c in number 1, std c out, so ask the user to enter number 2 into the second number, and put a space, and std c in number 2. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put in std, and we'll print out on the screen the, we'll do addition. The value, actually let's just say number 1, and I'll put in a plus number 2, equals, and then what we'll actually do, let's make another integer here, int result, and that'll just make our code a little bit shorter and kind of easier to read, equals number 1 plus number 2. So now I've already predefined number 1 and number 2, and then we can just result like that and that. Okay, so then we should probably actually test this, and then we open it up and it says, would you like to enter your name or add 2 numbers? Enter name to enter your name, and enter number to add number. So if we enter name, what is your first name? We'll enter Bill, and then we'll enter Billy, and enter our pet's name. We'll call it John this time. Okay, Billy has a pet named John. Cool, right. Okay, and then same deal should be if we enter number. Enter the first number, 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Cool. So far that works. And now we'll add the last part of our logic, which will be if the user doesn't enter name or number, because we need to do a little bit of error checking. Now you could do further error checking as to whether or not the user actually enters a string or enters a number, but that's a little bit advanced for where we're up to now, so we'll cover that somewhere in future episodes. So else, so if the user does not enter name or number, we need to std c out. You did not enter, how about we just say error, command not recognized. That's about right, yeah, it's close enough. And then that's it. Cool. So now if we start up the application and we enter something just like that, it'll say error, command not recognized, and the application will terminate. And that's it, okay? So now the reason that we have return 0 is to signify that the application has terminated correctly. So in the case that the user does not enter the correct command, in theory we should probably add something like return 1, which will be which will signify that the application has terminated sort of incorrectly, if you will. So if we were to enter just garble, and you can see there process returned 1. And that's pretty much it. So this is a little bit bigger of an application, but definitely not huge by any stretch of the imagination. C++ programs can get quite complex very easily, but I hope you guys understood and followed along with this fairly easily. If not, leave a comment and I I will endeavor to revisit or explain something in greater detail. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.